Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our March Food Security Community Call. I'll give just another minute or two while some more folks are joining us from the waiting room, but I hope everyone is doing well. Kind of not too disappointed in a slight return to cooler weather this morning. Casey, I see you nodding. You know what I mean? Hopefully.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Judy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. So yeah, I think maybe we all paid in allergies for the beautiful weather and cherry blossoms going on. But oh, lots of folks still joining. Good afternoon. While we're getting started, if you wouldn't mind adding your name and your organization to the chat. Always happy to see some familiar faces and folks that we haven't seen in a while. So good to have you all here. And with that, I think we are going to get started. I am going to turn things over very quickly to allow a relatively new member of our staff to the opportunity to introduce herself if you didn't have the opportunity to join us at the County Executive Town Hall last month. So I'm going to turn things over to Naya.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Good afternoon, everyone, and I welcome you to today's Food Security Community Call. So our last convening was the town hall with County Executive Mark Elrich, and I hope that those of you who attended found it valuable. So there were some questions that came out of that meeting, but we couldn't get to all of them due to time constraints. And so Heather's here. Hi, Heather, to generally respond to those. So I'm glad that, the Food Council continues to be, a convener of the space, to support our food assistance providers and other community organizations that are serving Montgomery County residents. And if you're joining us from another jurisdiction to learn about our work, we welcome you. And so please feel free to share resources with each other, information, use the chat, because we really hope that you all as partners can continue to increase your capacity and we can continue to better serve you. And I really hope that you walk away with more networking, more informed new partnerships because of these convenings. And I particularly wanted to give a shout out to Gettysburg Meals on Wheels. I believe are they here today, Mary? Do you know? They said they were.
Yes, we are.
All right. I know this is your first time of joining us, so welcome to the party. And I'm going to turn it over back to Anne-Marie.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'd like Naya had mentioned, we really truly appreciated the opportunity to hear the county executive speak last month about his commitment to ensuring that food assistance providers, have the capacity, building resources they need to serve residents, and all that the county government is planning on implementing to do to address food insecurity at its roots in terms of housing costs, medical needs, job training and wages, education. So, we really appreciate having Heather here today. And Heather, I'm making you a co-host now so you can share your screen when that moment comes. But we're just so thrilled, as always, to have Heather joining us today from the Office of Food Systems Resilience to talk about the budget, because that's really where, we see that commitment, right, into what are the programs, what's the funding like for some of those, not that is settled by any means today. So again, just really happy to have Heather here and address those, and hopefully that will kind of address any questions that were left over from the county executive speech as to what exactly that was going to look like. So already running a little ahead of schedule, but Heather, if you're ready, we will turn things over to you to share that information, as well as any updates from OFSR and the grants that were that have started to roll out in relation to the Childhood Hunger Strategic Plan. So welcome, Heather.
Yes, thank you so much, Anne Marie. It is terrific to see everybody. Thanks so much to the Food Council for inviting me to join you all today. I know that budget season is both an exciting and also overwhelming and uncertain time for our many community partners. And so I'm glad for the chance to get to be here to share a little bit about what the county executive has included related to food systems in the proposed FY25 budget. And so this is just kind of a first opportunity to get to share a little bit about what's included beyond what was highlighted in the press conference that was held last Thursday. I think you probably heard food mentioned a number of times, and that really underscores what a priority this issue area is for our county executive, as well as his commitment to the many partnerships that the county government has established in this space with so many of you who are here today. So I am joined by the OFSR team, Juan Cruz and Catherine Nardi as well. So there's a number of us who are here. And this isn't our only bite at the apple in terms of information. This is a long process. And so I'll do my best today to give kind of a summary of where the vision is for where this work is headed. And I'll hopefully also equip you with the information that you need to start planning and inform your advocacy as well as, as the process unfolds. So just a quick recap on how all this process works. And I imagine that the Food Council will share information about this as budget season unfolds. But the county executive's released budget is just the first step in the process. So these are the county executive's recommendations to county council for the entire county's operating budget. Now it goes to county council, and they will take the next few months to deeply dig into all the different recommendations and make their final decisions before voting on and ultimately approving a budget, usually at the end of May or the beginning of June. And so that process is very transparent and public as well. So there are many different hearings, usually throughout the month of April, where all the different offices, myself included, will go to council, answer whatever questions they have to inform the decisions that they're making. There also will be a number of opportunities for the community to participate and share what their perspectives are on what's important, where enhancements could be made, where they see room for changes or adjustment. And so your participation is also critically important, just like the county executive had budget forums that I believe many of you participated in. This is also the council phase of the process is also an important part for community voice. And so I encourage all of you to take advantage of those opportunities. And hopefully the information that we'll share today will be helpful. So just kind of also sharing as a caveat that we are still unpacking everything that's in the budget as well. And so it is a very vast document. And so, I'm doing my best here to showcase the information that we have, but just noting that it may be subject to adjustment kind of as we get all the details as well, but wanted to make sure you had what you needed. So Anne Marie, I will go ahead, and if you give me just 1 second, I will share my screen.
Sure. And while you're doing that, I will just note that I included in the chat the schedule for when County Council is going to be holding its public hearings on the budget, as well as the link for how you can sign up to testify. The deadline for that to sign up is April 5th. So just have that information there.
Thanks so much, Anne Marie. And so, so I will just reiterate again, reminding everybody, this is the proposed budget. This is not an approved budget. This is the county executive's recommendations that will be ultimately determined, reviewed and determined by council action. But this is, I think, there's a lot of difficult decisions that need to be made, and there's a lot of priorities for our community, and it's a challenging financial time, not just for our residents, but also for local governments. So I'm glad to be able to highlight all of the priorities around food because that was certainly central in the decision making. Anne Marie, can you see the whole screen? Just making sure. Okay. And I'm flying a little bit blind here in terms of Zoom. So if there's something in the chat box, Anne Marie, just interrupt me, okay? But I'll take about 10 minutes to quickly kind of go through all of these high priority summaries, also with a little bit of framing at the beginning and the end, and then happy as the Food Council's agenda allows to answer any questions that come up. And then of course, there's always opportunities to connect with us afterward as well. So just a recap of where we are in terms of food insecurity in our county. None of these are surprising numbers to all of you as you engage in this work on a daily basis. But over 3 in 10 of our county residents are living below the self-sufficiency standard. But many of them live in that gap between eligibility for federal nutrition assistance programs like SNAP and free and reduced rate meals, but don't make nearly enough to cover all their basic costs of living. And so you can see that captured here as within the gold circle, but outside of that green circle. And so really that's been the focus of a lot of the county's investments of how can we maximize the benefits that are available from federal and state resources. So those kind of orange and green circles here, how can we supplement that with local dollars to support our residents in ways that the federal and state programs are not sufficient to promote their food security? We know that there's a lot of changes that are happening, in particular, the benefits like universal meals that were present during the pandemic, the SNAP emergency allotments, which ended about a year ago, have made a dramatic impact both on the availability of nutrition resources from the federal government, as well as those dollars that are being supported to invest in our local economy through retail purchases. And so that has really shifted a lot of the support needs onto our community partners. So while we were emerging out of a public health crisis, the economic crises that resulted were certainly continuing, and the burden of that really being shifted to our local partners. At the same time, CARES dollars, ARPA dollars that the local governments were relying upon to cover the costs of a lot of this work are also running out. And so that means that the work that in the past few years has been paid for with federal dollars is now needing to be covered with local funds. And those are much higher in demand and harder to replicate or come by. And so that has meant a lot of difficult choices need to be made. We also see that despite all the investments we've been making in food security, the issue persists, if not grows, in part due to things like inflation and increased costs of food, but just in the systemic inequities that were existent prior to the pandemic. We've also seen that disparities demographically in terms of food insecurity are growing based on data like the Maryland Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Pre-COVID, it showed that Black and Brown middle and high school students in Montgomery County were 5 to 6 times more likely to be experiencing food insecurity as compared to their white peers. And the most recent results from 2023 indicate that now that's 10 times a greater racial disparity in terms of food security for our youth. And so while we're putting forth tremendous effort, it means we still have an even greater way to go to really lessen the impact of hunger in our community. So when we look at what was in the FY24 budget, so a year ago, or in June of 2023, when our county council approved the final budget, these are the key pieces that were in that budget, what we started with at the beginning of the year. So that was close to $7 million in the food staples programs, which are run by Capital Area Food Bank and Manna Food Center. There were some funds for resident and community gardening grants, many contracts for school-based programs across a number of providers. Our Farm to Food Bank program with a little over $600,000, and many of our community partners benefit from the foods bought from 30 local farms to distribute to your participants, and an additional $2 million and change related to food system contracts with individual organizations. And so, as you can see, the base budget really reflected a significant amount of commitment already to food insecurity. A number of these dollars, in particular for the food staples programs, was sourced with ARPA dollars. So not the entire balance in FY24 was covered. with county funds. Then in December of 2023, building on the recommendations of the Childhood Hunger Plan, which many of you participated in, and much thanks to the Food Council for their leadership in the creation of that plan. But the county executive made a recommendation to county council, which was unanimously approved, to fund an additional $11 million in a variety of strategies to address childhood hunger. A lot of them are grant-based programs, which you've seen a lot of information coming about already, as well as an expansion of the existing Staples programs to support continued need for all of our different partners. And just to kind of give a quick recap of what this landscape looks like, there's over 110 organizations that are funded in one way or another through the county government to do food security work. So about 70 of them are partners related to the Staples programs. Others receive grants or have direct contracts. So just want to give everybody a sense of the tremendous scale of partnerships as well as financial commitments in this space. So when we look at the FY24 budget altogether, it's just a little over $17 million that was invested in food security work through Staples programs, as well as a wide variety of grants and other contracts. But when we look to the year ahead, what are our priorities? I know that there's a lot of really important strategies that were started during the pandemic, which were not specific to COVID-19 at all, but rather we had the opportunity to address some of the root causes as well as the persistent challenges in the county. But we need to look towards the next chapter, especially with local dollars and how we can steward those resources as effectively and as efficiently as possible. So we need to make sure that the investments we're making in food security are also getting at our environmental goals, our economic development goals, the values that we have as a county for building racial equity and reducing disparities in health. And so we also want to make sure that we are maximizing those federal and state dollars wherever possible. Similarly, we need to have a better understanding both of where we are in relation to these issues, as well as where we want to go and what's the impact of the funding, the decisions that we're making on addressing all of these different issue areas that we've identified. We also know that the capacity of our nonprofit sector and our community was stretched really, really thin during the pandemic, and our community stepped up in an incredible way. But that was not necessarily at a sustainable level of effort. And while we've been making a lot of investments in buying food for distribution, we haven't been making correlated investments in the infrastructure, in the staffing, and in the overall capacity of those organizations that are doing this work to make sure that you maintain your strength in preparation for future crises or just for ongoing service delivery. We also want to look at how our work on hunger relates to our other food system goals. How are we making sure that we're supporting our local food producers so that we can have a robust food production network and distribution network here in the county, and not just food production, but also aggregation, processing, distribution, so that we can be stronger for the significant impacts that are to come from climate change. And then finally, how can we really center equity and dignity in all of the different investments that we're making related to hunger? That we're certainly making sure we're feeding people in the moment, but that these efforts are equally focused on where we want food access in our county to go and what we want that to look like for all of our residents in the years to come. So that gets us to the FY23 budget. All of those values are deeply embedded in the recommendations that are in the county executive's budget. Again, this is pretty in the weeds in terms of individual amounts, but when you see the big $17 million number, you will certainly ask what's behind that. Well, it's a time of change, but also continued investment just through shifting strategies. So some of the key pieces that you'll see are a continuation of the grants that were funded through the special appropriation. Those weren't one-time issues that were being addressed, but rather annualized opportunities to invest in key strategies and partnerships with our community. So continued another year of grants for SNAP outreach, food as medicine strategies, partnering healthcare providers, supporting primary care access for children in underserved communities with nutritious food access. an expansion of funds for school-based partnership grants. Those programs were just launched in the past month for the rest of this school year, but the funds have been annualized to accommodate the tremendous demand that we're seeing for services, as well as to support an entire year's worth of services. There's additional funding for infrastructure for food system aggregation and distribution, as well as the biggest number that you see on here, which is the community food assistance grants. And so we will, over time, assuming that there is budget support, be able to fund a annualized grant program that will run October to October, that will in large part take the role of the Staples programs, which have existed in the past. And so we need to find ways to be inclusive and equitable and provide not just access to food, but access to operational support for our partners who are providing food assistance. And so with passage of the budget in June, then a grant program will launch with awards to be made in September for funds to begin in October. That $7 million, $3.5 million of it is in the county executive's proposed budget. And as he referenced in his press announcement on Thursday, the other balance of that amount is dependent on federal funds that are coming from reimbursement for COVID era expenses. So this will be a shift, but there are funds in place for the first quarter of the fiscal year to continue funding for Capital Area Food Bank Staples partners, as well as Manna Staples partners. And those participating partners are, if you haven't already, getting information about how those funds will be administered, so that we can have as smooth a transition as possible, because the county executive really underscores how important it is for our residents to continue getting access to food in the ways that they depend on while we transition to a longer term plan. There also are funds separately for our service consolidation hubs that are managed by HHS. So what is this going to look like for our partners? So there will be a few new requirements, and if you've applied for a grant or you are a Manna Staples partners, you've already seen this begin to become rolled out. We need to have understanding of what the impact is of the funds that we're allocating, both so that we can determine what progress we're making and where there are service gaps that remain unaddressed, but also so that we can show and demonstrate the tremendous impact of the funds, and to justify future investment. So this will look like, and Juan has been working incredibly hard on this, creating new data collection and reporting mechanisms for funded partners. And we aim to scale that in ways that's aligned with the level of funding that's received, as well as the capacity of the organizations. We know that this isn't just a switch that flips on or off. And so the goal is to transition over time and provide the technical assistance that's needed to really be able to support your collection and reporting of that information in ways that align with the resources that you have. We also are looking for increased flexibility in the ways that our partners source food, so that when the Staples programs, while valuable, don't give as many choices of vendors or food options as possible. So we'll be having a series of listening sessions with partners over the coming months to make sure that future programs are shaped in ways that don't have unintended consequences. We don't want to make any assumptions about the way you're operating or what would work best for you. So please help us in shaping those programs. But the goal is to provide more flexibility, as well as some dedicated funds for operating funds, whether that's for supplies, technology, staffing, benefits for existing staff. But it's important to invest in the overall organization strength as well. And then finally, enhanced coordination of services. So in addition to technical assistance, we'll want to make sure that we facilitate direct communication between our Office of Food Systems Resilience, as well as with our community partners, as well as with residents, and facilitate communication among partners in a grant program, so that you can learn from each other. And Catherine and Juan facilitated a gardening grants list community session just last week to help share resources and showcase the amazing work that's being funded by the county government. This is just a little snapshot of what a data collection platform looks like. And there is plenty of information to come as you receive grants or as you enter funding relationships with the county to know what this looks like. But just want to give you an example of when we talk about a data collection platform, it's really just basic information on where your services are being provided, with what frequency, and with what scale. That's one step on a long-term pathway to understanding both what the services are that are being provided, like I spoke about a minute ago, but how is that having impact on our community and the outcomes that we hope to see on everything from health to food security? And then finally, are we reducing disparities? Are we reducing diet-related disease? How is this impacting our county as a whole over time? And so establishing consistent standardized areas for data reporting is going to be an important piece, and working with all of you to determine how we can collect that. And so we anticipate supporting thousands of additional households that are not currently being reached with these funds. We hope to be investing more dollars in our local economy through partnerships with not just farms and food producers, but also retailers, wholesalers, distributors, and that we are building cross-sector partnerships to engage our healthcare providers, our schools, our community partners beyond the food sector in reaching residents in the most efficient and effective ways. And that's the end of my slide deck. So I hope that this has given a little bit of an insight into what's driving the decision making related to budget, what many priorities are being taken into consideration and balanced, because you are our partners in shaping the path forward. And it's critically important that while we have to come up with strategies that work best for the whole, that we shape them in ways that work best for individuals as well. So I look forward to your questions. And now that I can see, I will take a peek at the chat.
First of all, Heather, thank you so much. That was really an incredible overview and, connecting to what's coming out of OFSR now and just the general history. I have not seen, are your slides available to us? We will make yes, Heather will share those with us and we will send them out in a follow-up email. I hadn't received any other direct messages to me in the chat, or I don't see any here. So we're certainly happy to start taking questions. If folks want to raise hands or start out in the chat, we can do that.
Well, I know that it's a lot to digest as well. And so I see a hand from Dana. Hi, Dana.
Oh, did we lose Dana at the same time?
Hi, Heather. Sorry. Thank you very much for that. Sorry, I was taking myself off mute. Just a couple of questions on if I understood correctly, the transition period is just going to be Q1. And those of us that, whether we partner with Capillary Food Bank or with Manna, they will be having those conversations with us soon, so we can be planning, because many of us are doing our budgets or getting ready to do our budgets and trying to plan for the next fiscal year.
Yes.
So it'll be really important to know what that may look like. And then if we're going to be applying for grants, I guess a question I have is, you all are going to be managing that and managing it a lot faster than the grants we've seen go through Raphael's office? Because as you know, that's been a big concern. And I just want to also know that, understand that there's going to be time, like when you're trying to do grants where you, for instance, where you have partnerships, like when we saw the Food is Medicine program and it was only for pediatric focus, we would need, like, we have another relationship with Project Salud who only serves adults. And so while we're interested, the time frame was really short to try to develop partnerships and create partnerships where you might be able to put in proposals together. And so I just was hoping that when you guys are doing these, that you're going to leave time for people, especially when they're new programs and innovative, for people to be able to form those partnerships, get all the MOUs and everything sort of and the details worked out. And yeah, just curious if you all are going to manage that entire grant process so that it goes a whole lot faster than the other grants have gone through Raphael's office. And also just how the coordination piece, like as you all are looking at in our, will you be prioritizing particular zip codes or particular areas? And, will that be some of the pieces that will be shared as you put out the different grants going forward?
Yes, thank you. So the question about the staples first, I guess. So yes, I think that MANA has been in communication with partners already, and the Capital Area Food Bank will be very soon if they haven't already. So so those communications will be forthcoming, but I can assure you on our end, those conversations have been very active. So I think sometimes it's a matter of sorting everything out internally and then communicating externally, but I know that that is forthcoming. And the goal is to have information out as soon as possible with the ability to plan through October, because I think that's really the heart of so many of the challenges is that decisions and funding have been, or funding has been in 3 or 6 month allocations. And so that means decisions are made in 3 or 6 month allocations without much time to prepare or predict. And so that's exactly what we're trying to move away from. And so by hopefully capturing our entire FY25 strategy in one budget, that will enable us to communicate upfront. Here's what's coming. Here is what we will be planning for. And then the quick timeline for so many of the recent grant programs that are specifically run by OFSR is really driven by their being funded by a special appropriation that was specific to FY24. So we knew that the food as medicine turnaround was short, but those were funds that were really intended to be spent quickly, especially with programs that were either already in place or with pretty quickly actionable partnerships. But there also were really good opportunities for us just to get a sense of what the landscape looks like. How much of that work is happening out there already? Where is there work that needs to be done related to forming partnerships or kind of communicating in that space a little bit more broadly? So the most recent round of grant programs were very specific and short term because we knew they did have to turn around so quickly. And I can say, and this is due in very large part to the incredible team of Catherine and Juan, the brand new reporting platforms, as well as I think Catherine can correct me. I think we've launched 5 grant programs in like just a couple month period, and it's been incredibly robust, but they've also moved really quickly. And in part, that's because a lot of the Office of Grants Management programs aren't specific to a particular department. And so that is a different format. So when we do work closely with the Office of Grants Management, and they've been doing an incredible job of partnering with us in all the mechanics of it, but the programmatic operation is run by our office. So it's a little bit different than those that are kind of countywide, if that makes the difference. And they're all coming at once and right now, but the goal is if we can plan it all up front with a year's notice, we can stagger them to make it easier on our partners as well as frankly ourselves in terms of giving a much wider lead time for applications and communication. And I'm looking at my notes and I think that answered your questions, but if it didn't, Dana, please don't hesitate to follow up. I appreciate that. And there was a question from Stephen about private sponsors. So, I think philanthropic organizations have also seen impacts on, everything from the status of the financial markets to, a continued and expanded demand on the private sector to fill in where the federal government had been. So I think our hope is to maximize private investment as well. And by building the capacity of our nonprofit community to be able to collect and report data, as well as kind of strengthen grant writing and application abilities, that will hopefully make it easier for our partners to also pursue nonprofit support, because a majority of our partner organizations do receive most of their funding from the county government. And while I think it speaks incredibly highly of our county's commitment to addressing these issues, it also makes it much less financially sustainable in the long run. And so I think our hope is to use county funds as a tool in building the capacity of our nonprofit sector to pursue private funds as well.
Thank you.
Well, I don't turn into a pumpkin, and I know I'm 6 minutes over, so I will put in the chat box our my email address, and I'm happy to answer questions. I just appreciate everybody's partnership. This has been an exciting time, but also, there's a lot of moving pieces, and it is very difficult to transition out. And I just feel of the pandemic response that we all have been so closely collaborating in. But I do feel incredibly grateful that we live in a place where when the federal funds scaled down, the local support didn't do the same. And I think that is pretty unique in Montgomery County when you compare us with a lot of the other jurisdictions that we have continued close partnership and with our between our community and our county government in terms of this funding commitment. And so while I think it's important to emphasize how these continued resources are needed and how values aligned funding from the county is important moving forward, I think there's a lot to be excited and proud of here.
Again, thank you so much, Heather. And obviously, if any questions further, feel free to share them in the chat or to reach out individually. I did just want to share, Dana, since you had brought up the Office of Grants Management, I just wanted to make mention for those of you who are members of Nonprofit Montgomery. They did host a session with Raphael Murphy a few weeks ago about the status of grant programs. He gave a very detailed presentation that was recorded. So if you are a member and didn't have an opportunity to view in day of, you can access that recording. I did reach out and ask if I could share that outside of the network. I haven't heard back yet, but if I do, I will share that link as well. And if for some reason I can't, maybe I will reach out to Raphael and see if he'd at least send us over his slides. I know there's some timeframes that have probably changed already since then, or goals that have been met. But he did share a plan, and also clearly, apologies for how long these processes have been taking. So just an update for those of you that may have applied and haven't seen the latest on that. Okay. I did want to switch gears now and a little bit of a change of pace from our normal calls. For once, I have many things to share food council related that I am hoping are of interest, to everyone on the call. So we'll spend some time doing this. We may have some time left over after that for some additional community updates or for some introductions, which we don't always get an opportunity to do. But let me kick us off with a few food council updates. First, I did want to share that for those of you who may not have noticed, we have been updating our food assistance resource directory. And part of this was done in partnership with the Office of Food Systems Resilience as a result of the data that they collected from the Food Assistance Provider Landscape Survey. It was shared in the outreach email for that some of that data would be shared with us for that purpose. So we have been in the process of updating that data. I'd say we are about 80% fully updated. We have a few organizations that we haven't been able to make contact with again. Some folks did not participate in the Food Assistance Provider Landscape Survey, so we've been going out on our own. But what I am going to do in a moment is I'm going to share the link to the directory in the chat. Please, please, please find some time this week to go and look up your organization. If you are a food assistance provider, make sure that your data is in there. Make sure that what's in there is correct. And then I will also share a link to a form where you can make any edits if necessary. We know a lot of you, are very responsive to your communities, and you may have changed distributions even, in the past couple of months. So we want to make sure that all of that information is up to date. Any provider that we do not have a confirmed update from, whether, it didn't come from the landscape survey or we didn't hear back from you, we are going to hide that information until we do hear back from you, because what we want to make sure is that we are sharing information that is the most up to date with residents. We don't want folks, going and looking for food assistance distributions that are not happening anymore. So if we haven't confirmed that that information is accurate, like I said, we'll just kind of hide it from the site, but it'll still be there. And when we hear back from you and have it all confirmed, you'll be back and included. So thanks for your patience there. For those of you who may not have seen it, the Food Council is currently conducting a partner survey. We would love for you to share your experience engaging with the Food Council over the past year. And the survey results will be used by us to evaluate our impact and guide our future food system initiatives. So I will be sharing that link as well. And I'm going to move on to some convening spaces. I know that many of you join us here all the time. You may have some other areas of interest that the Food Council convenes on. We also have a few new convenings taking place that I want to make sure are on your radar. The first one is food waste prevention and recovery. They just had their first kickoff meeting last week. But if you would like to be a part of this call moving forward, you can reach out to Jack on our staff, and he will get you connected. Again, I will share all of this information. We have our upcoming food systems advocacy call this Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. For that, our featured speaker will be Michael J. Wilson, Executive Director of Maryland Hunger Solutions and the co-chair of the State Food System Resiliency Council. We're excited to hear about the work that Maryland Hunger Solutions and the council is planning for 2024, planning during the 2024 Maryland General Assembly session. And they will also be sharing updates about the advocacy work that the Food Council's engaged on since the last time we convened. So I will share that. Last two convenings, our SNAP working group always meets monthly. It builds a community of practice for organizations and agencies providing SNAP outreach and application assistance to Montgomery County residents. The group discusses strategies to increase SNAP access and overcome barriers residents face, resources available to support residents with low incomes, as well as local, state, and federal policies that impact SNAP. That group meets on the fourth Tuesday of each month from 2 to 3, and they will be meeting again. The next meeting is going to be on March 26th, so that's a week from Tuesday. And you would reach out to Allison on our staff to connect there. And our last convening that I wanted to share is our resident and community gardening collaborative. That meeting will be taking place on Thursday, March 28th at 12 p.m. And in this meeting, we'll be hearing about gardening projects taking place at different Montgomery County public schools. So I will have a registration link for you there. And last announcement before I stop talking is the Childhood Hunger Collaborative, or the End Childhood Hunger Collaborative, I should say. We are going to be hosting that on Wednesday, April 17th from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the auditorium in the Executive Office Building. I hope that you recently received a save the date notice from me. This event will bring together those community partners that are already at work implementing the recommendations of the strategic plan to end childhood hunger, as well as those looking to learn and get involved. We'll be sharing a registration link and additional details soon, but we do hope to see you there. So I am going to take a breather. I'm going to start sharing some of those links in the chat. But I think it would be great if we could use the rest of our time. I'm going to start with Stephen from Gaithersburg Meals on Wheels, because you are new to our community. And if you just wanted to take a moment and introduce yourself and share a little bit about your work to kick things off, I would appreciate it.
Well, thank you. But is Meredith on the line as well? My colleague,
Let me check. Oh, I do see Meredith.
Myers. Meredith, should you
I
take the lead
see
on
her.
this, or?
Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, we're a group that's been around for about 40 years, and we deliver meals to seniors who are handicapped or low income, and who are otherwise unable to procure food for themselves. So we are entirely volunteer based. Everybody who works for us, there are about 80 some odd volunteers who use their own cars to deliver the foods. The food is both hot and cold. It's prepared by Asbury Methodist Village Kitchens that serve their community and also serve our needs. We have a little over 80 citizens that we serve this way. Recently, we were told by the source of our funding, which is Montgomery County, that they would not reimburse us for clients that we're serving who are under the age 60. So that has put us in a quandary because our funds are very low. The people who receive the food are asked if they can to make a financial contribution, but most of them cannot. So right now we're trying to find partners to work with who can take responsibility for those clients that we are no longer able to serve because of financial reasons, who are under 60. And right now we're planning a leadership transition. I'll be the incoming president in May, taking over from a gentleman who's been doing this for about 40 years. And our intent would be to expand the program, to expand to meet the needs, and also to expand the source of the funding that we need to make the program most effective. But we're very fortunate to have a lot of really good people that we're working with, and that's where we are right now. So very, very happy to be participating in your group.
Thanks so much, Stephen and Meredith, and feel free to put your contact information in the chat. We can also share that in our follow-up resource email for anyone who may be interested in connecting with you on providing services to those that you are no longer able to serve. Okay, I'll put an open call. I won't start calling out people, but if there are folks who would like to take a moment introducing themselves, particularly if you are new or relatively new to this space, or haven't been with us since the last time we've done an introduction round, please feel free to either raise your hand or just come off mute and introduce yourself. Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Zayas. I am with the YMCA Youth and Family Services with the Bridge to Wellness program. And this is my first time on this call. My supervisor, well, I was kind of like always peeping on what she was doing sometimes. And then this came up as like I guess a space where a lot of different vendors and programs and resources kind of come to one and kind of like share and collaborate. And so I was like, well, I want to be a part of that. And so I kind of put myself on here. And so I'm excited to be here, and I'm just kind of taking all in and listening and trying to see how maybe future relationships or collaborations can come about.
That's wonderful. I'm so glad you found us. Can you share just a little bit maybe about, are there any programs or services that you are currently connecting families to in terms of food assistance, or is there anything you want to share about kind of what you're seeing with your families in terms of what they're experiencing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so currently I know a big service that we use is Manna. Most of our referrals are to Manna for food assistance. And we've had a lot of good like success and a lot of good like feedback from our clients. They really enjoy like having the multiple locations to pick up and like the community locations. So that's what we use mainly is what we use, but I'm always interested in knowing if there's more out there besides Mana as well, or being able to use Mana and maybe any other additional services.
Great, great.
Mhm.
And Jasmine, I'm not gonna, I apologize for putting you on the spot. I realize you may not be the person who does this, but again, just to connect you more to our community. I think the YMCA, you also operate some of the linkages to learning centers in the like East County area.
Yes, that's correct. We have Linkages to Learning, which is our other program, which they focus primarily on like I think elementary schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bridge to Wellness, we're in the 5 high schools in Montgomery County.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, I think some providers might be interested if you want to share, if you have names offhand of the school sites that you wanted to share, if you could do that in the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, hello.
Hi, Mercy.
Yeah, hi, this is Mercy from Montgomery County Family Center. So we give food to families in Montgomery County every first Tuesday, second Tuesday, and the fourth Tuesday of the month. We start our food distribution at 10 o'clock. And so just let families know they can come over and get food. We don't have the time we stop. When the food finishes, that's when we stop. So they need to be here before 10 o'clock because we start at 10.
Thanks, Mercy. And
Okay.
that is Catholic Charities, correct?
Catholic Charity. No, and they need to come with their bags sometimes so they can have the stuff.
Oh, their own bags.
Yes, yeah, empty bags. Thank you, and Mary.
And Mercy, sorry, just because it is Catholic Charities, at your site, can families also connect with any benefits or case management, or is it just food assistance?
We assist with funds for utilities and rents when we have. We don't have money all the time, and currently we don't have any money, so we cannot do the financial assistance right now. But when we have money, yes, we do assist. And then we give referral information also to other places.
Great, thank you for
And
sharing.
we provide families with diapers for the children. Yeah, they come, but they need to come with children's birth certificate. So we give diapers to them once every month.
Okay, thank you, Mercy.
You're welcome.
Kenneth, I know you're new to our space with FNEP. I don't know if you
I
want to
I
say
am.
share.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I just came on to maybe build a few more connections in the community. If anyone's not familiar, FNEP is the Expanded Food Nutrition Education Program. We're housed in the University of Maryland Extension office over in Durwood. So we offer nutrition education programs to both youth, adults, and families. So we can even with an organization set up one with both parents and children. But our focus is lower income individuals. They don't necessarily have to be on any assistance programs. They just have to meet that lower income threshold. And they have to have children. So we can even expand it to grandparents who occasionally will take care of the grandchildren will count, as well as anyone who has children, birth to 19 years of age. And we'll even do programs for pregnant women as well. So I did drop my contact information and LinkedIn in the chat, and I'll drop it in again one more time after I get off, so it's down at the bottom. But if anyone's interested, shoot me an email and we can definitely look at setting something up.
Great.
Thank you.
I will share a little insider knowledge. So Esther on our staff is a former FNEP educator. So I know to ask, are there still providers doing lessons in languages other than English?
Right now, we don't have anyone who's bilingual in this office, but we have hired a interpreter through the University of Maryland for at least Spanish. Right now, we found the Spanish language department is to my knowledge, the only department at the university that offers interpreter services. But I'm currently teaching a class with Seneca Creek Community Church with an interpreter. And then I saw Lindsay's on the call, and she could probably tell anyone about how well that class is going. It's going really well. All right, well, thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm scanning through looking for new names, but again, feel free to come off mute or raise your hand if you're either new to our community or someone we've known for a long time, but just have something new that you'd like to share. We're happy to make some time and space here for that today.
Hey, Emma, this is Christina.
Hi.
I'm gonna stay off my camera because I'm not feeling well today, so I don't want to see my face. But it's good to be with you all here today. I just wanted to like give a quick update. So I'm Christina Berthelot. I'm with SMATIC, the Southern Maryland Agricultural Development Commission. Within that organization, I work with the Maryland Market Money Program. We our food access program that's statewide, especially in Montgomery County, that offers a dollar for dollar match for benefits made using federal nutrition benefits, so SNAP, WIC, FMNP. We are deep into like pre-market season or pre-farmers market season, so I'm sure that you'll hear me again like when we get a little bit closer. But I just wanted to remind folks that it is farmers market, or we are coming up on farmers market season. We also have several year-round farmers markets, and these are great opportunities to like tell our community members about, because they can go and essentially double their benefits, get double the groceries that they would for spending the same amount of money. That also goes back into the pockets of our farmers, especially farmers that live and farm in and around Montgomery County and in Maryland. So I'm going to drop our link. I'll keep it short. I'll drop our link in the chat, but just an opportunity for folks to sort of remind folks about whenever you're talking about where they can use their benefits. Also, we're always accepting applications. So if you attend like your favorite farmer's market or farm stand and you know that they don't run this program there, we welcome everyone every year to apply so we can run our programming at their markets as well. Thank you. And I'll get in touch with you soon to like schedule maybe a presentation for the other working group, wherever you think we fit in.
That would be great. And thank you so much for the reminder that we are getting close to the start of market season for the seasonal markets. I know Crossroads should be opening up soon. Christina, I will just ask you, it came across, I got an email a couple of weeks ago about a new market opening up in Wheaton that is also going to be doing a benefits match. I'm assuming they're connected with you, but just curious if you had any information on that to share, because I feel like a lot of us thought that the Wheaton area was, kind of needed a market. So
yeah, I've
that.
heard of this market opening. They haven't reached, and I just looked at our applications today just to see where we were. I feel like so there was just the annual farmers market conference that was at MDA last week, and I talked to a lot. I mean, like a lot of people. So getting some wires crossed. But I feel like there might have been somebody there representing. They have not yet sent an application. But yeah, that is definitely an area in a market that like we've been waiting to see like more pop up from. And if they don't reach out to us, we will definitely be reaching out to them. Funnily enough, this season we're starting to see, especially from Baltimore, Montgomery County, and Prince George's County, farm stands applying. And we saw Linda Lewis was at the farmers market conference, and she's over in Montgomery County, and she just like she cannot speak enough wonderful things about this program. All of the community members, diverse community members that come to her market now or her farm now, and just like how much more like economically this program like benefits her farm. And she, yeah, so farm stands, farmers markets, we definitely want Wheaton on board. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm just checking the chat and making sure I'm seeing goodbyes and not questions. Okay, great. Oh, thank you, Agar, for sharing. So yes, Manna Food Center and Interfaith Works are hosting a joint community conversation on food insecurity on March 28th at 7 p.m. in Rockville. So the flyer is in the chat if you are interested in learning more about that. And thank you so much, Jasmine, for sharing your YMCA sites at MCPS. That's great. All right. If we don't have any other takers, I'm happy to give you 29 minutes back on your Monday. I appreciate you all joining us today. And as usual, just a note, because we will be hosting the End Childhood Hunger Collaborative in April, we will not be having a food security community call. I appreciate everyone's patience with us the past couple of months. I know we've been on and off schedule, meeting in person on different weeks. So I appreciate you all hanging in there and with us also having new Zoom links for every individual meeting to try to prevent confusion on calendars moving forward, because we know these changes happen. So just again, appreciate you all hanging in there for continuing to join us. And thank you all for coming. Look forward to seeing many of you in April at the End Childhood Hunger Collaborative kickoff.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Anne Marie.
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.